I would say, well, from being a husband standpoint, uh, uh, two key things. There are many things, but one is prayer, and the other is absolutely understanding and embracing the concept of forgiveness. Um, there are things that my wife and I have done to each other that we have been able to get away with that we would not possibly allow others to do to us,
Wow. Okay.
primarily because of the embracing of the concept of forgiveness. And I don't mean just saying I'm sorry. I mean saying in your spirit, saying to yourself and saying to your partner, I'm sorry, in such a manner that you truly allow something to be put behind you and away.
Okay.
Because if you say, I'm sorry, and you're holding on to that thing, it becomes this cancerous thing that begins to grow and grow and grow and ultimately kills a relationship. Ultimately kills a relationship. Um, it's not that you can't forget what has happened, but a real good minister friend of mine told me this as a definition of forgiveness. Forgiveness is the point you reach when you can remember the pain that something has been that has been inflicted upon you, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't hurt anymore,
Mm. I like that definition.
right?
I like
You can
that.
remember when someone has done you wrong, but it doesn't hurt anymore. And being able to force yourself and drive yourself to get to that point of forgiveness is the only way relationships can last long. And again, with certain people that can offend you, you can let certain things
Mm-hmm.
pass that other people that you can't let a spouse pass because the level of trust that you have with a spouse, the level of love that you have with a spouse, the level of vulnerability you have with a spouse, the thing that a spouse does hurts deeper.
It does.
So you have to be able to move past that. You've got to be able to allow yourself to get past that. Is one of the most essential things in relationship. Forgiveness allows you to overcome things that you can't possibly imagine.
So how did you realize that?
It took some time, and it takes learning, and it took counseling at various
Okay.
stages of our
Uh-huh.
marriage. We took premarital counseling, so there were certain concepts we knew to be true before we went in, but then there comes times when that those lessons get tested,
Right.
and you see what your relationship is made of, and it's relationships in general just a painful process. They're I don't even know what the ratio is to pain to pleasure,
Right.
but there's a significant chunk of pain in relationships. To bridge those gaps, to get you to those pleasures, you've got to have that bridge of forgiveness, or you stay stuck on the
You
wrong
know,
side of that
it
river.
makes. I think that's a wonderful formula.
Yeah,
It makes sense
yeah,
because so often marriages are broken up or relationships because he did this to me, she did this to me. You know what? That's it.
yeah.
Either two things: I stay in it
Uh huh.
and things fester
Uh huh.
and becomes worse, or we aim for outdoors
Right.
and we think, well, I'm gonna find someone else,
Right. Right.
someone else's
Who will be
company.
more understanding or
Exactly,
whatever,
but that is not the
or who won't
solution.
hurt me.
Right. That's
Right.
it.
I
That's
mean,
the
because
thing. Who
some of it
wants to?
is you want somebody who won't hurt you anymore.
Exactly.
So forgiveness is absolutely essential. Um, and as I've grown older, I've learned the other thing is not to fight so much. As an African American man, I've been fighting all my life, fighting to get out of the neighborhood I was in, fighting to make sure I've never been impoverished, fighting in school, fighting in the military. There was a point in my career in the military in a unit that had 28 officers, one of the largest artillery units in the Marine Corps. I was the only minority officer. I was the only black officer. So I was fighting to be heard, fighting to be respected, going to Johnson and Johnson, fighting to be respected, fighting to get ahead, watching people get promoted ahead of you that were absolutely less qualified, less
Right.
educated, less qualified, less experienced, fighting, 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 and then coming home and fighting, fighting, fighting. I was
Yes.
fighting to be heard by my wife, fighting to be heard by my children. There was like never any rest. And that's part of that lack of patience that I had in dealing with the children. Because you just put on a helmet, a shield, a breastplate, and a sword, you carry it to bed. I mean, you wake up in the morning, you put your armor on, and you fight and fight and fight till you go to bed at night. You wake up, the armor's off, and you don the armor again. You fight in traffic. I mean, you're just fighting, and so there is this mentality you take on, this aggressive mindset to everything. I was overly sensitive
Right.
as a result of this fight, and it didn't leave room for people to make honest mistakes.
Okay.
We get back to that forgiveness thing
Right.
now.
Right. So when did you realize, you and your wife realized that you crossed the bridge?
Oh, you go back and forth.
You go back and forth.
You go back and forth
But
over
you
the
go
bridge.
back and forth. Oh, you do.
Oh yeah, we go back and forth.
But
over
it's
the
a
bridge.
different kind of back and forth.
Oh,
now.
it's similar. It's the same, or it's
Uh-huh.
new. I mean, it's everything.
Okay.
Last week.
You went across the bridge.
Oh yeah. So I went to DC to spend some time writing. I hadn't been doing any writing. I had the grandkids. I didn't know my wife's schedule. I never know my wife's schedule. I've been telling her for 15 years, post your schedule on the refrigerator. She works at retail advisory. One day she can work at 8 in the morning. One day she could be closing at 8 at night. One day she could be off. Well, I knew about Saturday off. I didn't know Friday was off. I originally was going to leave to go to DC on Thursday. I'm going to stay with a relative, spend 2 days in DC, and then come back home, or stay with a friend who was going down. He works for Pico Energy, and I was going to meet with him in the hotel. I was going to stay in Baltimore for a couple days. All my wife knew was that I was going to DC. So she was a little angry with me. Now, she forgets that in the car, when I found out she wasn't working on Friday, that I said, come with me. She said, no. She wanted to go to the beach. She wound up not going to the beach because it rained on last Saturday. I went to DC, I came back, and I was invited to dinner for a lecture. You know, you said blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there and I'm getting knocked upside the head, knocked upside the head, knocked upside the head verbally. And then I said, do you remember I asked you to go? No, you didn't ask me to go. I said, yes, I was sitting in the car. This is where we were. I asked you to go. Do you remember that? She looked her head to the side and said, oh. No apology. But the conversation stopped, which is all I wanted. I just wanted the conversation to stop. And that's it. Back over the side of the bridge.
Okay.
I had to be able to forgive her for that.
Right.
Without getting an apology so that I could move on
Okay.
and get back over the other side of the bridge if she comes over the side of the bridge.
Okay.
You've got to be able to do that. The other secret I tell young guys is the two magic words in your vocabulary has got to be yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
Okay, guys, you heard that. Yes,
With,
dear.
watch this. Let me show you. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. You see how humbling
See,
that is? Your
yes,
eyes are
dear.
closed.
Eyes
You
closed.
shake your head partially. Yes, dear, from the bottom of my heart.
Okay.
Yes, dear. You got to make it sincere, whether you believe it's yes, dear or not. Because if you want to get back to the game, you got to get yes, dear out of the way
Yes, dear.
so that she can go on and do whatever she's doing and you can keep on the game. I tell people TiVo is saving marriages.
Uh-oh.
Because when your wife steps in front of the TV to say, I got something to tell you, you get the mic, you hit pause. And I have the ability to pay absolute attention to whatever it is she wants because I won't miss a thing
Okay.
when I hit the play button. It's a magical thing. You should have it. Everybody, man, should
Okay,
have it.
these are tips, guys.
Everybody
Tips.
should have it. Because I can pay absolute attention, undivided attention, without worrying what's going on behind it. And sit patiently and listen, whether it takes an hour to however long TiVo will keep you on. Magic. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. So yes, dear, using that device, being able to forgive are keys, and stop fighting.
Yeah, that's
So stop fighting at
Stop
home.
fighting.
Stop fighting at home. There is so many things you need to fight for, so many things you need to battle. I have another phrase that my wife likes to let the baby have the bottle. Sometimes when they're crying, you